welcome to the Flame and Fiber Podcast. My name is Barbara. Excuse me while I scooch around. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Diva S. Welcome to my podcast. I have been doing the Corona vlog every morning. Today was vlog number 50. So we have been in shutdown and I've been doing a vlog for 50 days. I hope we all can stay safe and sane. Oh my gosh. But it's time to do a podcast because I have some finished objects and I want to show you. And there are people who are not interested in seeing me every day, which I absolutely can understand. I do it for me, you know, it's one of the things that is keeping me sane during this pandemic, and talking to you guys and interacting with you. People have been telling me about their days and what they're up to and their shut down, you know, your sheltering in place plans and what's going on in different countries. And anyway, I'm really glad to be able to do that. But I did want to have a regular podcast since it has been quite a while. First things first, I want to encourage you to join the Craft From Your Stash Make-Along that I'm doing with the wonderful Leslie of the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. She is also doing a daily vlog called Not Quite Enough Distance. So it's been fun to watch her progress through this. Also, she's working still, so she has more to show than I do because I'm not doing anything. But it's been fun to see what she's up to and to see what's happening across the pond during all these times. Anyway, she and I are doing the Craft From Your Stash Make-Along, and it's a very simple make-along. If you owned the yarn or the fiber or the materials in 2019 and you started the project in 2020, it qualifies. So we both have a finished object thread and a chatter thread. We are drawing quarterly prizes and then one big prize at the end of the year. A pattern prize from the chatter thread and a yarn prize from the finished object thread. Now, the person who I picked for my first quarter finished object thread prize did not contact me. I was going to draw another one today, but we're getting in the middle of May now, so I think what I'll just do is I'll just draw two prizes at the end of June for the second quarter. So I'll draw two final finished objects posts at the end of the second quarter, and then I'll just have one mailing because I'm trying not to owe too many mailings, to tell you the truth. So anyway, please join us. It can be small, it can be big, one picture per item, and just post in the finished objects thread. The finished objects thread is no chat, so put it in the chatter thread too, and then people can ooh and ah over it and discuss your project. So it's been so much fun to see what you guys are making, and it's wonderful. So anyway, so join the Stashmal 2020, and you can follow that hashtag on Instagram and Ravelry and see what people are doing because it's wonderful. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that and to say that I will be drawing two prizes because I apparently can't deal with it because I'm so busy. Things weigh on me. I'm a procrastinator and things weigh on me. I finally got the front lawn mowed. I've been talking about picking sticks for every day for weeks. I talked to my daughter today because it's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, everybody in the United States who celebrates such a thing. Talking to my daughter this morning, and she says, she says, I haven't watched your vlog in the last couple days, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on with you, but I'm tired, I said, oh, we finally mowed the lawn. She's so good because I'm tired of hearing you talk about picking up sticks. It's been the bane of my existence. So anyway, I did a couple things that were really weighing on me, and I don't want to add any more things like having to mail something because apparently it's like more than I can stand. So anyway, so that's how things are here. everything is fine. We're fine. Everybody's healthy. I spoke to my mother this morning, and she's doing very well. She got my card. I sent my card on time so that she got my card. And so all is well there. And my kids both called me, and they're all well too. Jason's in Florida, and they're pretty much opening Florida up, I guess. And Mississippi's pretty open too, so hopefully they will all shelter in place a little more as much as they can anyway, so to try to stay safe. We're out in southeastern Pennsylvania. We are not going to be opening anytime soon. The governor announced that some counties were going to code yellow, whatever that means. But when I read the article about what that meant, I think that just means a few more kinds of stores can open and things like that, but no sit-down restaurants and no bars or anything like that. It would be nice if the state stores would open up. Luckily, I was pretty prepared. And Dennis makes wine, so, you know, I'm not in jeopardy or anything, but it would be nice to be able to go to the state store. But basically, we're just going to the grocery store every couple of weeks and getting groceries for Dennis's parents and for us. And walking the dogs every day. That's how we get out, because we have our dogs and take them out for a nice walk every day. And it's been chilly here. We had frost warnings last night. It's crazy. 30 miles north of us, they had snow. It was so, but that's supposedly done now, and it's going to start warming up. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can tell you that, because I'm ready. I'm ready to sit on my deck. I'm ready to wear my summer sweaters instead of my winter sweaters. Things like that. Speaking of summer sweaters, I finished my Boxy. I talked about this. It was a whip when I podcast last, which I think was 2 weeks ago, or was it 3 weeks ago? It might be more like 3 weeks ago. Could be 2 weeks ago. Oh, I don't know why I'm backing up. I did this whole video. I'm putting the video right here. I did this whole video so that I wouldn't have to get in and out of my chair. So the 4 colors were a kind of real beige color with brown eucalyptus leaves on it. Then the next color had kind of a blue background and yellow, lots of yellow leaves on it. And so I faded that in. And then the next one had all different colors, blues and browns and greens. And I think it was my favorite. So I put it kind of front and center. And then this was kind of a peachy one with browns on it. That turned out to be really lovely too. In fact, I ended up loving them all. I wasn't sure how it was all going to go. But, and as I was making it, I wasn't sure if I liked it in the beginning, but it really grew on me. Although, I don't know, these, oh well. But the other thing is that the texture continues to be, I don't know if you can see that very well. I did take a picture of it. My stitches are very uneven. I mean, I knit this from sock blanks, so I'm imagining things might smooth out a little bit after I've washed and blocked it a few times. But I love the texture of it, so I am not sorry that the texture isn't gone. So I may be not, I mean, soaking it only the minimum amount of time when I have to wash this in the future to try to keep that texture as long as I can. So there you go. And I did take a bathroom selfie, which I'll put up there in case any of them turned out okay. And I am in love with this. I was very skeptical, as I said in my little video. After I put the second color in, I wasn't sure. And I don't have all the tags, and I'm sorry about that. Because all of these are from Maria Ninja Chickens. They're eco-printed sock blanks, which is why I have such a great texture still. And I think this is the tag, dyed with logwood and printed with eucalyptus. And I think that's the first color. That's what that is right there. Anyway, I'm really happy with it. This is my second Boxy I've knit during my time of wanting to do stockinette. If you are in the mood for stockinette, this is the best thing ever because you just go and go and go and go and go. My other one is dark. I made my other one out of a Miss Babs Yowza. Miss Babs something, not Yowza, I guess. And so this is and it's dark. So this is lighter. This feels summery. This one is 80-20 superwash wool and nylon. Anyway, they are so gorgeous, and I do have a picture of what they look like before I started knitting this. I took a picture of the sock blanks. I'm glad I did that because I can never tell what anything's going to look like. So this, these were leaves and, anyway, I'm so happy with how it turned out. I was a little concerned that the sleeves were going to be too small because as I was knitting, you knit from the bottom and you knit up to here and then you split and you start knitting the front and then you knit the back and you knit up to here. And the length that you knit before you start on the shoulder shaping is the size of your sleeve. And I was afraid I got a little impatient and was tired of knitting, and I might have made my sleeve too long, but I didn't. It's perfect. I'm so excited. So I do have, oops, of course I dropped it. I do have a little bit of yarn left over. This is the peachy one at the end. It also ended up with some purple. So when I did the sleeves, I left the last two colors for the sleeves. So you can see the sleeve is kind of purpley. That's this peachy one and here, but that end had some purple in it. And then the bottom of the cuff is the middle color here. So anyway, I'm just really tickled with it. I love wearing my other Boxy. And I had gotten the worsted Boxy pattern a while ago, and I had made one in a yarn that was too thick, I think. And it looked terrible on me, and I tore it out immediately. I have to do something else with that yarn. It's beautiful yarn that Monet gave me. So I hesitated about a Boxy. I wasn't sure how it would look on me. And anyway, so I bit the bullet because I wanted to do stockinette. Because I didn't want to think. I've been in this place where I don't really want to think very much about my knitting. And I'm getting tired of it. And I'm ready to like slap myself around a little bit and say, knock it off. It's time to start knitting something fun. Because it's fun to knit rather than something mindless because you just want something to do with your hands. But when I wanted something I could just knit, and of course this was really fun to knit because as you're knitting the sock blank, you're taking a flower out and it's turning into a beautiful sweater. So thank you, Maria Ninja Chickens. I don't know if she has any. I didn't even look in her shop to see if she has any of these. I bought these, of course. These are Stash Mal 2020. I bought these 3 or 4 years ago. I acquired them over time with the idea that I would eventually put them all together in a sweater, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Oh, another tag. I found another tag. So this is how much I have of the other two. So yeah, this one's eco-printed with, 2 of them were eco-printed with eucalyptus. So this is what I have left. This will be a little mini for an advent or something. Put them in my, I'll put these in my blanket. That'll be fun. That'll be great. So this is my first finished object, but I have another finished object. So last time I podcast, I showed you the Behold. I finished the Behold for my son-in-law-to-be, and I mailed that to them. This is part of the mailing that, I wasn't doing and I was supposed to be doing. And, but But I told you that I had seen a sign behind one of the economists in one of the shows we watched periodically. He would show up and he would have a sign right over his shoulder that said, well, that was a shit idea. And I loved that sign. So I made one for us. I went out and figured out what I wanted. You know, I kind of MacGyvered an alphabet to get what I wanted, and I did our thing. So it's going to have a lot of kind of white at the bottom. And anyway, Dennis is going to make me, I have to tell Dennis the dimensions of the frame that I want, and I'm just going to stretch this over a frame. But this feels like a sign of the times, I thought. So I was pretty happy with it. Well, and I really like cross-stitching letters. But I don't have a lot of sayings, you know, that I want or need or can think of. But if I think of any more, I'll... But, so anyway. So I finished my That Was a Shit Idea cross-stitch. So that's my second finished object. Of course, it's not finished, as they say in the cross-stitch world, because it's not, you know, you can't hang it on the wall. Unlike my Boxy, which is finished, because it is washed and blocked and has all of the ends woven in. As I was making it, thank you, I forget who turned me on to the Stephen West video about how to deal with your ends as you go along, so you don't have to weave ends in as you go. So that's what I did in the body of this and wherever I could. I mean, there still were ends at the end of the sleeve and that kind of stuff. So I didn't have a lot of ends to weave in because I was weaving them using the Stephen West method while I was knitting the sweater. And I wish I had known about that when I did that mosaic sweater that has a gajillion ends. But I did not. So I finished this the other day. Oops, let me loosen my yarn. I finished this. My phone just went weird. But I think I'm still. So I finished this yesterday. I guess I finished this yesterday. And soaked it for a really long time because because of the curly yarn. I thought that would get it out, but I'm glad it didn't because I ended up liking the curl. I really like the curly yarn. So I had one whip that I had shown you a little bit last time I podcast. I had gotten this gorgeous yarn, Yoshi and Lucy yarn, that I just loved. And I had balled it all up, and I was going to make an arcade by Isabel Kramer. And I had started the arcade, and I showed it to you. I had just gotten like this much done in the back. I was doing the short rows and stuff for the back. And I had put it aside because I'm not sure why. Stockinette. I decided I was going to make this boxy instead. And so I finished this, and I went and I picked up the arcade, and I had put an arrow where I was in the pattern, but it didn't make any sense to me, and I tried to go ahead and I messed it up, so I only had that much, so I took it out. I thought, let me start over. And after I took it out, I was looking at the picture of the arcade, and it had, on the pictures, they have a big wide neck. I'm like, I don't want a big wide neck, even though I made an arcade with a neck just like this. It's not a big wide neck. It's just a nice neck. Anyway, sitting there looking at the pictures saying, I don't want an arcade. So I spent a couple hours on Ravelry trying to find something that I would want to make my Yoshi and Lucy yarn out of. I don't even know if I have. Oh, I do. Yoshi and Lucy. And this is their Amelia base, which is 100% superwash merino. And it is in the dark magic colorway. So anyway, this is what I found, and I decided I want to make. It's called Sea Salt by Fogbound Knits. And I don't know if you can tell. And it took me a while, and the description in Ravelry should tell you a little bit more about the construction of this sweater, because when you have a weird construction, you should let people know. So the way this is knit is you start here, you make the sleeve, you knit across, you knit this piece in garter stitch and back down to the other sleeve, then you pick up the stitches here and then knit down. That's how this is done. So what you have is, I'll show you what you have is a sleeve. You do the sleeve, and then you do the sleeve cap, and then you're doing this thing that goes over your head and is like the yoke part, and your head goes in there. So anyway, I decided and it could be, I love that picture. I love that yarn. So in fact, it looks pretty fuzzy. She probably has some, what you call it? You know what I mean, the fuzzy stuff in with her, with it. It'll come to me after I'm done podcasting, but there's the back of it if you can see. Anyway, I started that. So I bought it and I started it last night, and I have this much of a sleeve. So it has this open cuff, which wasn't obvious in the pictures. And then you go, so you start at the cuff, and then and now I'm increasing to do the sleeve. And I think it's a 3/4 sleeve. It's supposed to be 13 inches. So I have a couple more inches to go, and then it does some kind of a short row sleeve cap here before it starts the bodice. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing the sea salt. And I'm marking all my increases because, of course, when I come back down the other side, I have to match. But isn't that beautiful? It's knitting up so beautifully. I'm so happy with it. And once you get to the top of once you get into the bodice part, it's garter stitch. So that's nice. But, and it's got beautiful, beautiful stitch definition with this yarn. So anyway, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing the sea salt, and this, and so I think I just measured it. It was like 11 inches. So I have a couple more inches to go on this, and then I go into something completely different. Then I switch over to, so that's the sleeve coming up to here, and then I do some kind of a sleeve cappy thing, and then. So I do have to do some thinking. I mean, it's not like lace work where I have to sit there and think at every stitch. But I have to pay attention, and I have to do some thinking, and I think that's good for me. I do still have my ochre sweater. I don't even know. It might even be up here still from the last time I podcast. No. My ochre sweater, which I have not worked on. That's by Amber O'Brien, and I got to the lace part, and I decided I didn't have the energy for lace. But I need to go back to that because that's a summer sweater that's made out of my linen. So anyway, I thought, well, if I hurry, I might even be able to wear this because it's been so cold. But, and I will be, because I think it's 3/4 length sleeves. So, that's a throw it on over your shoulder, throw it on in the evening, in the, when it's chilly. It could be chilly in the summer evening. Would be nice. So that's what I've been working on with my crafts. I did sit down with my little sheep cross stitch that I showed you last time, and I did about an inch on it, and I'm like, I don't even want to do this anymore. So I'm not sure what that was all about. once I finished with the lettering on my shit idea, I went out and looked for samplers and things like that. I'm like, I'm all about the letters. Let me go and do a bunch of letters. But most of the samplers are not all letters that I've seen. And some of them, you know, they might have sayings and things, you know, but none of, you know, I mean, a typical sampler saying is not something that I would be that interested in. But there was some beautiful samplers with dragons and things, you know, not a lot of letters, from a designer in Great Britain that I really liked. But then I thought, you know, I'm not spending $25 on a pattern for a cross stitch until I'm ready to actually cross stitch. I'm not just gonna buy the pattern. So I did not buy the pattern. I'm trying to be better. I have been playing poker. I don't remember if I was playing poker when I podcast last. I probably was. But they allow poker in Pennsylvania now, online poker, but you can only play with people who live in Pennsylvania. It's a very restricted, they want to be able to tax it. And so that's how they're managing it. Now, New Jersey and Nevada, and I'm not remembering what the third state is, Delaware maybe, also have legalized internet poker, and they have joined into a consortium so that their players can play with other players from the other states. Pennsylvania has not joined that consortium. So right now we're only playing with other people who live in Pennsylvania, which is fine. But I've been enjoying it for the most part. I've been learning. I need to work on my poker psychology and my poker, you know, to make sure that I enjoy it. I played for quite a while last night and did not enjoy it, and was, you know, and I thought, well, that doesn't work well as a hobby. If I'm spending money and in the end I'm just frustrated and not enjoying it. Oh, I know I'm not supposed to touch my face. So I'm working on that. I enjoyed my poker tonight, and I stopped playing. I busted out and I just said, okay, well, that was fun. And I didn't, you know, get on another tournament or anything like that and try to stretch my time longer. I just turned around and started knitting on my sleeve. But after a while, I was tired of knitting on my sleeve, and I thought, well, maybe I should just go do my podcast. So, unfortunately, there really isn't very much to talk about other than my projects, and there are only 3. It's very strange. The time seems to be going quite quickly. Like I said, I have done my little vlog 50 days in a row. 50 days. So the days are all blurring together. It's because I'm retired, and, you know, every 2 weeks on Tuesday we go grocery shopping. I get my mother-in-law's list and buy her groceries and wipe them down and put them in new fresh bags, take them over to her. And you know, we did take a ride into Amish country on Friday, because there's an Amish farm there that has a farm store that you can order meat and things. So Dennis had ordered some meat and some eggs and, you know, really yummy stuff. And so he had put in an order there. Cheese, they make cheese. So we drove out to Lancaster County. Unfortunately, it was raining, so it wasn't like a gorgeous day for a ride, but that's okay. We got out of the house. And Lancaster County is quite beautiful. Rolling hills, you know, beautiful farms, and, you know, meticulously kept yards, and, you know, beautiful. So we did that, but pretty much not too much else. Obviously, we're still in lockdown, so I can't go to State College and visit my parents. They're in lockdown. Even though where they are is going to go to yellow alert, I think. They still won't be able to have visitors where they're living, so, and I certainly wouldn't want to endanger them. we're being so careful with Dennis's parents. His dad's going to be 103 next month, and his mother's 89. So we do not want to bring coronavirus into their house. So we're being very, very careful. We never see them without masks on. Always doing social distancing, and we don't stay very long. They are going a little bit crazy. We have gone over there a couple times and played cards for an hour because they're, if only the baseball would come back. They're big Oakland A's fans. If only there was baseball for them, everything would be fine. I think they'd be perfectly fine, but now they're just kind of going a little bit crazy. So, which is too bad. So the kids are doing well. Everybody's fine. Dennis is fine. He's working on his wines and things like that. I'm watching too much television. I'm watching too much news and political analysis and economic analysis, and I do have to stop doing that because it's really not making me happy, and I can't really do anything about it, and so I need to, make sure that I'm careful with my mental health and doing things that keep me sane. I have been going up and down with my eating, with my weight. It's currently a little on the up, so I'm working on that. I'm not the only one that's happening to. I'm quite sure about that. I'm quite sure about that. So I hope you're managing all these things, and I hope the people in your families are safe and you're taking good care of yourself. It's just kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, and it'll be really interesting and, to see what we end up with when all is said and done at the end. They're finding out that, they're finding cases, they're identifying cases of people in France who had this coronavirus in the beginning of December. So coronavirus has been around a lot longer than they thought. And, whether or not it started in China, I guess, is even up in the air at this point because they're finding it in France. There's somebody in Washington thought that they had somebody who had coronavirus at the end of November. It was like, so whatever happened with this virus, it was around apparently a lot longer before there was enough of a cluster that the Chinese said, wait, something's going on here, and figured out that there was a novel coronavirus. But apparently they're identifying, people. They're learning more and more. It's going to be really interesting. It will be very interesting to read an analysis of what really happened and how it all worked and that kind of thing, and how we all coped and managed and the results. I suppose that'll be quite a while before we'll have anything like that, because they're still finding all kinds of stuff out, but it'll be interesting when all is said and done to hear the true story. Be very fascinating. Meanwhile, it's getting old living through it, to tell you the truth. But don't get me wrong, I know how lucky I am. I'm so lucky to have already been retired, so I didn't have to worry about my job. And I'm living in a nice place that's not in, in a really super hot spot. And we're able to take care of my in-laws, and the kids everybody's fine. So I know how lucky I am, believe me. And I have a stash. I know how lucky I am. And I thank my lucky stars every day. I know that so much is going on around the world that is just horrifying. So don't misunderstand me. I know how lucky I am. And I hope you're lucky too. I hope I know some of your families, some of you have family members who were sick. I hope that they're recovering well. I have a friend who's a nurse in Queens. You know, it was like, oh. So I have to worry about him. I mean, I have to worry about all the nurses, but, you know, like somebody I know personally, right in the middle of it all. It's really, really scary, but I'm lucky that everybody around me is doing okay and managing. My brother got laid off, my youngest brother, which isn't surprising. I mean, his job was, he was a sales representative for a liquor and wine and liquor distributor in Pennsylvania. His customers are all bars and restaurants. They're all closed. They've been closed for over 50 days. So that's too bad, but not surprising. So we will see what happens when things are done. So anyway, but he's healthy and happy and working on his garden and applying for unemployment. And, you know, let's just hope. We can just only hope. And take care of ourselves and wash our hands and try not to touch our face and wear our masks. Did I show you my Peppa Pig mask? I might have showed you my Peppa Pig mask. I made myself a Peppa Pig mask. That's what I wear to walk the dog. I have a P100 that I wear to the store. I just wear the cloth mask when I'm walking the dogs and when I'm over at the in-laws and stuff. So anyway, just rambling. I hope this finds you well. I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're staying sane. I hope you're getting lots and lots of crafting done and it's helping. My crafting is helping me. It is helping me, and I think it won't hurt me to have to just use my brain more. So I'm ready to, I've started this interesting new construction and use my brain a little bit. The knitting itself should be straightforward, but thinking about what I'm doing, and that's good for me, so I'm doing that, and I'm gonna keep working on that. And if you want to hear my daily ramblings, I'm doing my Corona vlog on the same channel. And it's just usually I just get up in the morning and talk for a few minutes about what happened the day before and how I'm feeling and what's going on and that kind of thing. It's just a conversation over coffee. It's really what it is. Conversation over coffee. And so I will say good night. I hope the colors haven't been terrible. I'm so happy with my sweater. It feels great on. I was so worried. This was the first time I put it on. I'm like, oh, I hope those sleeves aren't too small. So take very good care of yourselves. Be careful. And I hope you have lots of time and to do the crafting that brings you joy. And I will try to come back in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll have more stuff to show you. Maybe I'll get my act together. And meanwhile, I'll talk to you tomorrow if you want to join me.